Hi there. Welcome to Sunnyside Journals. I'm Catherine, and I have a little what's on my desk. And what's on my desk is a new old project. Oh, there I already, what are we, 3 seconds into it, and I've already hit the camera. A new old project. And by that, I mean I actually started this book last July. Thank goodness. I thought, "Oh, I posted a photo of this. And so I looked through my Instagram history, and sure enough, back in July, there it was. That's when I got started on this handsome fellow. Isn't he nice looking? Yeah, the book house, my book house, the treasure chest. So this one is book 4. These are a series of books. So I'm working on book 4 this time, and I've already got started on it. As you can see, I've already gutted it. I've already restored the spine. Some of these things are just, there's no bells and whistles. There's no excitement. Part of the work in restoring a very old book, this is 1928, I believe. 1928 is ringing a bell. Hold on. 28. It's unless you get a thrill like me, I do, of bringing new life to an old book, it's just not very exciting. But I thought I would just turn the camera on and first of all wish you all a happy good morning Saturday morning. It's Friday right now, but by the time this gets uploaded, it'll be Saturday morning for most of you. So I wanted to say hi. And then I wanted to show you that I'm picking this back up again. It's time this book met its destiny. And I love it. So I'm excited to finally be working on it. I have the text block here. And as you can see, some pages, there's a few pages missing because I have been using this book also just to cut spreads out and put them into other journals. So there are already other journals out there in the world that have pages from this book. But I certainly left myself more than enough, and I left the best ones to put back into this book. I mean, look how beautiful. Isn't that pretty? And the paper is quite good. I will actually be able to use that for sure, just as it is. I think I'll reinforce the fold here, but it's going to be able to go right back in as a front page. The end papers, I still have the end papers, and obviously they're going to, I wasn't able to save the whole thing. This fabric right there was really threadbare, and it needed to be fortified. So just in looking at it and the amount of work I was willing to put into it, like if this was still lifted, I could have gone in and tried to lift all that up and get in underneath it and restore that way. I don't want to. I think that there is ways that are just as much fun that can still be respectful of the book and make it more useful, because it is going to be a journal. It's not going to be a storybook anymore. Well, it's going to be a life storybook, I guess. But it's definitely needed some cleaning up, desperately needed some cleaning up. And there was I literally had to scrub crud off of it. And some of you might go, okay, that's all I need to know. I'm out of here. There was crud in the book. Yes, there was like 96-year-old crud, 98-year-old crud in the book. So, but I scraped the crud off, and I did my best with my little soft eraser. And so this is just mostly crud stain. Which, I don't know. If it's me, not only do I not mind that, I love knowing that maybe a little person was having a little snack while they were reading. I just, it just doesn't bother me. So I'm hoping that there's also someone out there in the world that it won't bother them either. I'm still trying to decide, because this is so beautiful and could be a front page, I am trying to decide whether to simply, yes, there's crud there. So I could use, this is the other side of the end papers for the front. You see what I mean? So what they did was this book had the same end papers, which are so pretty. But what I could do is I could put this one over top and therefore camouflage the crud. I think it was chocolate, but I didn't taste it. I did scrape it off, but I didn't. You know what? I figure it just gives it character, right? Anyhow, so I could use that as an end paper. And then I also thought, because I had to reinforce it like this, but I want to keep this, sorry, and I don't want to use this one over top because it's got crud on it. And plus, it seems to have some staining here. So the bulk of this is actually in nicer condition than this one. And I'm thinking I may do with this book what I did with, oh boy, was it Harriet? No, it was the Catholic Encyclopedia. And Harriet, pardon me, yes, Harriet, I did too. Where hold on, I'm grabbing something from over here. And these aren't necessarily the ones that I will use. But, like, I have these old file folders. And it's really fun sometimes if you cut them down thin and put them on over top, it camouflages the reinforcing that you've done, and then it turns it into just a tiny little tuck spot inside the cover of the book. So we would still be able to see how cute. We'd lose a little bit. We'd lose maybe about 1.5 inches, but it would become a tuck spot. Gosh, I think that looks really, really nice. I even like the shade of this green. I have other ones, but I just grabbed these. And I'm thinking that is, that's an option to cover the work that I had to do to reinforce those shoulders. That's definitely an option. And you know me, I think about it and I ponder it, and sometimes I will even change my mind right up to the last second. I admire my husband for marrying me, knowing that I can change my mind right up to the last second on things. Mind you, he was a keeper. I wasn't going to change my mind on him. He was a keeper. So I got started, as I said, I got started not only on, this part was done. I did this part last July. But this morning I got started, as with Mr. Snook's book. This is one of those really old, dark cloth-covered books that when it wears out, the worn parts start looking white because it's just pulling the dye right off of the fabric. And I just find, I'm hoping that you can see, I have already inked this side of the cover. Can you see how this looks richer and warmer? Even the gold looks nicer because I've just used some ink and covered up where this has all been faded and worn off. The dye has just been worn off. it just makes it nicer. See where this is all brown now? I've done this morning, and it looks so much richer. Plus, I will still seal it afterwards. So wherever it looks dull, although it won't look, I won't be using a shiny sealant. It will be a matte sealant, but it will still give it almost like a glow, pearlescent kind of, not a shine, but definitely it won't look dull the way that looks right now. That just, I mean, certainly looks better, but it will look even better when I finish with it. So I really wanted to show you. First of all, I wanted to get most of this done. It's quite tedious and there's nothing exciting to see. But I did want to stop partway through so you could literally see the difference that inking a really old faded book can make with just brown ink. Now I'm going to pause you for a second because I want to take a photo of this so that I can post it on Instagram. So hold on one second. You're going to freeze and blink like that. There we go. Okay, I just wanted to get a picture of the two different sides, and that way I can post a photo of it on Instagram. So again, as ever with one of my videos, this isn't going to be a hair-raising adventure. This is going to be some of that tedious work that needs to be done in order to end up with a really pretty book at the end. Now, what I will often do is, you know, when your ink, it even says old on it, when your ink pads are getting dry and you're not necessarily, it's not one of those pads that you refill. Like sometimes I buy the refill bottles, droppers of Distress ink for my Tim Holtz Distress Inks pads. But for your regular, you know, archival type inks that you use for stamping, when they start drying out and they start to lose their intensity, I still like these. These are still extremely useful. First of all, they're very useful because sometimes you want to stamp, but you want the stamp to look very old. You don't want it to look bold and fresh and crisp. You want it to look faded and worn. And that's when an old stamp, so I write old on that. And here's, I love this color. This is called Mudslide, and I love this color. So this is my new one, and I tape that right across so that I know. I originally wrote the old underneath there, and I was still having to flip them over to figure which one's which. And that's when I got mad one day and just put some masking tape and wrote new on it for the new one, so that I know if I want to do a crisp stamp, I grab my new pad. And for this old one, because this is acid-free archival ink, and it's the older one, so you're not going to get that intense color. It's not as scary, so you got to trust me on this. And even if you have to, as we've all learned when we're making junk journals, you almost have to be willing to buy a few crummy old books at a thrift store and experiment on them. Just practice cutting it open, cutting it apart, seeing what's inside, trying to put it together again. There's no other way to go about learning how to do this except by doing it. And part of doing this is just taking that leap of faith and getting out a soft brush and getting out a pad of ink and just going at it. And you'll soon become quite comfortable with what you know your ink and what these old books are willing to accept. So I just basically do this. I have these soft makeup brushes. I get them at Dollar Tree. You can get them in packages of 2, I believe. And I just go right over all of this canvas area. This feels like almost an old denim. It's kind of thick and coarse like denim. So, and you do have to be a little bit vigorous, I find, because you can see the weave in it. It's kind of just thick and rough. And in order to get into those little tiny nooks and crannies, it's really okay to just really, really get in there. I do a round circular motion so that I know I've gotten into? Yeah, maybe that's the right term. Into all those little teeny tiny nooks and crannies. The corners of this book were quite fluffy and unsightly, and I had to give them a haircut, but it's okay. I'm a licensed professional. They reminded me of my, I had a border collie who we used to call them Muppet feet. Her feet she looked like, you know how Cookie Monster's fingers, they're all sort of fur everywhere. Bingo used to get her Muppet feet for the winter time, and we'd have to trim down the fur between the pads. And that's what these corners were like, Muppet feet. And sometimes I find that if it's really gotten in there, to just really, really almost just press right into it with freshly inked brush. Now, I like this warm glow of the hunter here. He's almost like a New World Prince Charming. He's very handsome looking. He's a trapper. Yeah, I can see traps on his back. Anyhow, I like how bright this is. I'm not going to ink over him, but I will be inking right around the edge, and I don't even mind just kissing the edge of that page. It will help give it a bit of a glow because some of it is chipping a little bit. So I have already given this one very light sealing, aerosol sealing with a matte sealant. I just sort of went just to give it a bit of oomph, but not enough so that this ink will slide off. I've done it before, so I know that works. And then after I'm done this, I will go, I will take it outside because I've got some sunshine today, and tomorrow is supposed to be really bad weather, possibly even snow. Oh, it's May. The joys of living in Canada. Anyhow, so I really want to get this part done so that I can get this big fella outside and get him sealed so that I can do some more work tomorrow. My husband has to work tomorrow. He's got to go into the city and work. So that means that I get a studio day, or as he calls it, a spittoon day, which I love. I really must say, I am such a homebody. I definitely qualify under the Myers-Briggs. I'm an INFJ, as an introverted type. But I don't like saying introvert for me, because people assume if you're an introvert, you're shy. And I'm not shy. I just enjoy alone time. And I can't explain it. And it wasn't always that way. I have evolved to this. But I just enjoy it. So, besides worrying about the health of friends, family, and basically the whole world, worrying about their health and well-being, and worrying, for our country and the world, again, financially, how we're going to all survive this. As far as being tucked into my little house here and just working in my little craft room here, this is heaven. For me, this is heaven. And I feel badly for the extroverts out there who are literally going stir crazy that they can't get out and about. And it just, for me, I sort of shake my head in puzzlement, because I just don't care to leave. we had to go out and get groceries yesterday, and I hadn't been out in 9 days. The last time we got groceries was 9 days earlier. So, and that's as it should be. They really, you really should be just going out at maybe at the most once a week to try and keep this down. Anyhow, so back to my introvert thing, and as far as being tucked into our little house here, which I love our little home, and my little dog, take her out for a little walk. I can't say the word because she's over there, and if I say the word, yeah, there'll be no living with her, and there'll be no finishing this cover. So fortunately, she has not learned to spell yet, and I can say walk all the time, and she doesn't seem to have noticed that word, or yeah, that connection of letters. Thank goodness. So do you see the difference? I hope you can see the beautiful difference it makes. It just richens it up. This still looks black. This was a black cover, but it warms up the black. And you saw when I did this technique on Mr. Snook's book, although it was a blue book, again, it stayed blue. It's very much a blue book. Oh, he's downstairs right now. Mr. Snook's in the living room. It stayed blue. It just takes away the harshness of where the white areas, have worn through and are showing through, and it warms them up, and it just makes it look richer and I think more elegant, like an elegant old book. This one is so nice. It's got embossing on it. I hope that's showing up. It's so pretty. So I'm going to just turn this up, and I'm not sure whether you'll be able to see it or not. I just want to get that little edge there. I was toying with the idea of book corners, and I'm still not completely opposed to the idea of putting metal book corners on this. But although the fabric has worn off, I don't know if you can see it there, the fabric has worn right down into the cardstock under there. The book corner itself is still quite strong. It's not mushy. Sometimes these are so mushy that you literally have to pull the layers apart and stuff them full of glue and then pinch them back shut again. And that's actually an official thing to do. I've watched many videos and documentaries on bookbinding, and it turns out I'd just been doing that because, okay, what am I going to do with these mushy corners? And it turns out that's actually the real thing to do. Who'd have thought? Yeah, just fill them with glue and squeeze them shut and let the glue dry, and it restores the corner so that it's not flopping around like an animal's ear. So I'm tempted to simply, this is an old book. This book, in 2 years, 1928, no, in 8 years, I'm aging you, little book house. In 8 years, this book will be 100 years old. This is an old book. Some experts would now say that this is antique. They sort of changed their mind. It used to be antiques had to be 100 years old, minimum. And now some people are saying that antiques are 75 years old, and some are saying even 50 years old. And then beyond that, under that is considered vintage. I don't know. That I am not an expert on. But personally, a 92-year-old book is an antique. If you're 8 years away from being being 100, that counts. This book is like 1 year younger than my mom. My mom's going to be 93 in June next month. Boy, I hope it's opened up again and we'll get to go and see her. Although she wouldn't know that it's her birthday that day. Like she doesn't know to look at calendars and figure out, whether it's Monday or whether it's May or whether it's October. In a way, it's lovely. It's very similar to children. A child gets up in the morning, they just enjoy their day. It doesn't matter to them what day it is. It's a good day to be alive, right? So, there we go. Okay. All right, I'm happy. Let's move you out of the way. Move you out of the way. So that looks really nice now. And that means that I'm going to be able to turn off the camera and go outside now and seal this. And that way tomorrow I can start picking out papers and deciding and wondering where this book's going to lead me. I never know whether it's just going to be an all sorts book full of wonderful all sorts of things, or whether it's going to end up having a bit of a theme. I can easily see this book, having a fairy tale theme. It seems to lend itself to that. It's full of stories, but it's also just got lots of interesting stories. Like, it's not completely magical fairy tale kind of things. So, not sure. I started pulling it apart this morning. So there's the little end things. Like I said, I've got a few minutes left. If you get the chance to buy a book that it's not the end of the world, if you experiment on it and nothing comes of it except your education, that's a good thing, right? There's the gauze. See how when it gets so old, it'll just rip apart. Wow. Down here, let's see if I can get you off. Sometimes I toy with the idea of reusing the little head and tail fabric. Maybe this will be the time that I do it, because that looks quite nice. They both do. I'm going to see if I can clean them up, and maybe they'll get to go with the new book. We'll see. All right, I am going to take this handsome dude outside and seal him. So thanks for visiting with me. I hope you all have a great day. I hope wherever you are in the world, the weather's better than where I am in the world. Take care, everyone. We'll talk soon. Bye.